Welcome back to FastGadgets. Today we're going to talk about a topic that for me is very important, and that is how long should hardware be supported for a system that you purchased. So it could be a desktop computer, it could be a laptop computer, it could be a netbook. It all depends on what you have. How long can you reasonably expect it to be supported? And when I say support, I don't necessarily mean that the company is going to repair the hardware if something breaks. So on some of my videos you may have seen I purchased a used 2009 MacBook Pro, and system works great. And I'm thinking, okay, so this system is almost 9 years old and it actually is still working perfectly, and I can still load the latest operating system that Apple has to offer. So, but what about my 2008 MacBook Pro, or say a 2006 MacBook Pro? Is Apple required to support that for more than 10 years? Is that reasonable? And if they don't, what is one of the side effects? Well, I want to show you a little snippet of a video, and I do recommend you go to this YouTuber's channel and check out the video for yourself. But what it is a user who has a MacBook Pro 2006 that has been completely deprecated by Apple, and he can no longer get, of course, the latest OS 10 to run, or Mac OS, or even a newer Mac OS or OS 10 to run on his computer. So what he does might surprise you. Let's check it out.
So let's start with the productivity benchmark. So let's open up Microsoft Word. This is your 2013 version. There we go. Let's open up a nice template here and see what kind of performance we get. Let's manipulate this a little bit. Scrolling through this with these graphics is absolutely fine. So the Radeon X1600 is accelerating that nicely, despite having a drive. CNN.com, show us the obligatory version or website that we want to take a look at. Utterly ridiculous. Yeah, that's Trump, alright. That's him in a nutshell. I shouldn't get all political, I don't think. As you can see, this is really smooth. I mean, the scrolling never actually chops because it has to load in a little bit. You can just scroll through all these images just fine. So that's good. Let's kick it up a notch, shall we? Let's see if it can do 1080p. I know Snow Leopard, I've tried it in Snow Leopard, it can do this. Chrome can do 720p, but 1080 is just, it starts, you know, you can definitely see the video lagging behind the audio pretty quickly. Frame rate dips to a very low point. So let's try 1080p. Yeah, this is 1080p. It chops a little bit here and there. You can definitely see a little bit of frame skipping here and there, but this is totally watchable, I'd say.
So he runs full frame video in 1080p, and this system can still run a Core Duo with 2 GB of RAM, but it can't run the latest OS 10. And conversely, when I think of my systems, I've got the MacBook Pro 2009 with a Core 2 Duo 2.26 GHz, and then I have a MacBook Pro 2008 that is actually faster than the MacBook Pro 2009, at least in multi-core performance on Geekbench 3. And that system, the 2008, is no longer supported after El Capitan. But the 2009 still is, even though they're essentially equal in hardware. The chassis design is a little bit different, but the hardware is essentially the same. So what can I do with the MacBook Pro 2008 after El Capitan eventually is no longer supported? Well, I mean, it's going to work for a while, let's be honest. I've got another year or two yet before I have to start getting worried. But as far as I know, each iteration of OS 10 or Mac OS that Apple releases gets at least 3 years of support, or 3 versions of support, I think it was. So yeah, that's what it is. I believe it's 3 previous versions of support. So Sierra's just been released, so there would have to be 1 or 2 new ones, and after that El Capitan would no longer be updated anymore. So it would limit what I can do. Is you've got these systems that are beginning to age. How long can we reasonably expect things to be supported? And I know some of you will say, but with Mac OS Sierra, if you want to do it, you can put it on an older system. You just have to follow a guide and go through several steps to get it working. The average user isn't going to be interested in doing that. The MacBook 2009 that I bought, the person who sold it to me actually thought the system wasn't useful anymore. It never occurred to them they could put an SSD in it, which I did, or upgrade the RAM to make it run better and still continue using it. They went out and bought a 2016 MacBook Pro, and I'm sure they're happy with it. I'm not saying it's a bad system per se, although personally I prefer the 2015 model because I do like the older chiclet keys and several other factors that made me buy the MacBook Pro 2015. The bottom line to me is this: if you can run the latest Windows operating system on a computer, you really should be able to run the latest Mac OS on your own hardware. It's, in my opinion, embarrassing that Microsoft trumps Apple and has their latest operating system, and it runs really well on Mac OS. Excuse me, it runs really well on the MacBook Pro 2006 with a Core Duo, yet you do not any longer support that particular system. So what is it? They're trying to march you forward as a consumer and get you to the point where they say, if you really want to use Mac OS or OS X, the latest versions, you need to buy new hardware. It's time to buy new hardware because this hardware is obsolete. If it was truly obsolete, would you be able to run Windows 10 on it or the latest Linux operating system? Food for thought. Tell me what you think. Again, personally, I think Apple is obligated to support that hardware as long as possible. And when I say support, I mean make sure that the operating system will run on it if their competitor is able to do it. Will that happen? Absolutely not. Will they care? No, because they know very few people are going to actually run Windows 10 on a MacBook Pro, and quite frankly, they don't care about the few people who might figure out that they can still make use of their system if they switch to Windows 10. What is the risk factor? Well, you have users who switched their MacBook Pro to Windows 10 and they get used to the environment of Windows 10 and Windows 10 software, and ultimately they stop using Macs. If you like and get used to Windows 10 on your MacBook Pro that's no longer supported by Apple, why bother buying a MacBook Pro the next time when you can buy a system that will run Windows 10 for much less money and still be a really good system? Food for thought. If you enjoyed this video, let me know, like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed the video, consider sharing it with others. I always appreciate that. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Fast Gadgets.